John, this was tough. I mean, Space Jam 2, and it wasn't even in space, and that's just the start of it.
It wasn't good.
It was a rough one, man. Like,
yeah,
it was a tough one to get through. We're gonna have fun today. Woohoo!
Hey everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. We do have some Space Jam basketball fun on here. We did a visual effects breakdown of the first Space Jam, doing some comparisons with the new one. We have a lot of shorts coming out. We like to do all kinds of different content on the channel, so check out AsArt.space for the audio and video links. Nick, this was a rough one.
This was complete garbage.
Oh, wow, that jumping straight and coming in hot.
It's just like, it was so bad. Like, the idea of Space Jam, it's not even in space. I mean, they should have called it the Network Jam. And Warner Brothers, did they make themselves out to be the bad guys in this movie?
This was like Warner Brothers Metaverse.
But like,
this was...
They were the bad guys. They were the villains at the beginning. Like, they were just like bowing to the algorithm or whatever. I was just like, wait, are they saying they're the bad guys in this situation? And then the point system, there was no like need for the point system in the basketball game because it didn't matter. You know, you can score 1 billion points from doing a stupid thing. And then at the end, the bad guy jumps on all of his teammates. He dunks it in front of Lebron in his face and he got 2 points. It just didn't make any sense.
I don't feel like, did he not have style points there?
No,
That's
he didn't
weird.
I mean, there's even like text that pops up behind him, like in the king's face and all this stuff. But there was no like point system. And then at the end, when LeBron scores the point, he even jumps on the red thing and all this stuff is happening. He only got 2 points. I was just like, wait, what? Like, what happened here? Like, I just didn't.
It definitely takes
sense.
some of the... It definitely takes some of the tension away when it's like, all right, so this is so subjective. We have no scoring system here. So how far behind are they really? You know, it's kind of a rough thing. This like for me, instead of Looney Tunes, this is like Looney Egos. This just seemed like an ego
the whole
thing
thing's
to
like
where
about James King or King James.
King James.
It was just over and over. They were like talking about how great he is.
They said that so many times that I'm like,
branding,
okay,
marketing.
This is about him. Like, okay, this doesn't fit at all. Yeah, it was. I think Nick and I talked just a little bit about this movie before we popped on, and I think both of us agreed that our favorite spots were all Looney Tunes stuff, just 2D animation, or when they're going through the different movies.
Even if you would remove LeBron James, it still was like good content. Like, you didn't even need him there. He was just a stand-in next to Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, but by far my favorite moments were when he... with LeBron James was when he was 2D and it wasn't having to look at the painful act. I mean, let's get it clear. It's hard to be an actor or actress, and when you're not acting with anybody else, it makes it way harder. So he's acting all on a green screen, which is really, really rough. And you have to think, like, even really good actors and actresses, they have a hard time acting on a blue screen or green screen.
I mean, even our Sir Ian McKellen had a breakdown because he was on a green screen set for The Hobbit, right? Yeah.
So basically saying Gandalf had a breakdown. So that's saying a lot there. Yeah. So, and I think it was John Malkovich was in that old, well, not old, but earlier-ish pre-Avatar 3D movie Beowulf. And he's a great actor, and you could tell he wasn't good in that, even though he's a great actor, because he had nothing to interact with, you know. So it's just kind of a rough. And even the first Space Jam, you had Bill Murray and you had, what's his name, Newman from Seinfeld.
You mean Jurassic Park? Yeah, or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. So you had like really good supporting real actors he didn't have that in this.
You have Don Cheadle, or
he's
good. I mean, like,
he's good, but he wasn't
an actor. But
the role they gave him wasn't.
Oh no, he was playing
though.
like a cartoon character or something.
Yeah.
Or
the dialogue
algorithm, or what do they call it? Like, I can't remember.
Yeah, algorithm. Yeah, LG rhythm. Yeah, it's like, oh no.
Oh, and the rap battle. Oh no, don't even get started on the rap battle. Anyways, okay. So, what made the first one good? I mean, of course, it wasn't great. We may have nostalgic elastics when we think.
Well,
the first
remember,
one
I never saw it back when it came out.
Oh, so
I saw it when we reviewed it, which was like, what, within the last 6 months or a year or so?
Yeah.
I had never seen it before then. So I was like, I had no nostalgia with that. And it had some definite charm to it. It was a hugely novel idea. Whereas in this one, it's like, well, you're just retreading the same water because LeBron James is trying to make a case for being as great as Michael Jordan.
Well, and then, you know what's funny too? So in the first one, the Looney Tunes need Michael Jordan's help. So it wasn't like it was a Michael Jordan story. It was a Looney Tunes story, right? And they bring Michael Jordan in to help them out, kind of thing. And the states, it wasn't like his family or anything like that. It was like he was going to be like locked up forever as like a stage freak show act, like signing papers and stuff like that. And then like this one, like, I don't know, it just was so like the like, you can't see your son, you're going to be, it was just so weird. And then like, I think LeBron James only has a couple million followers, which is a lot on like, you know, Twitter, Instagram and stuff. But like, that was his reasoning to get out to the world. I'm like, I don't know if that's like, it's just anyways. But then LeBron LeBron has to recruit. Actually, he had a good idea. He wanted to get Superman, King Kong. Like, that was like a pretty decent idea. Like, you get the best. Yeah. But obviously, it was weird that Bugs Bunny got, I don't know. The story does not make sense. And me trying to make sense of it just hurts my brain constantly. Like, it's like when you see the Witch King, the Penguin, and like Clockwork Orange and It standing next to children on the sideline cheering. I'm just like, what's going on in this universe?
And I thought it was hilarious because they made sure not to show It's face on. He was always kind of turning so they didn't scare all the young viewers. Like, I thought that was hilarious. Like, they never showed him that much. And it was like, it was like poor man's It and poor man's like, it's like not the real thing.
Rating. Yeah, my God. It was like they went to a Halloween like discount store and they just got like random people off the street to like be these characters. Like, it was so
which it made sense for the scary things because they don't want to make them look too scary for kids, I guess, you know, because if you're watching it, you know you're going to see it.
Why put Clockwork Orange people in there then? Like, what's the point
I didn't notice that, but that is pretty...
But you know what was funny too that I noticed? Only humans were in the first couple rows. Then the cartoon characters were in the back. So they only had humans in the first, like the human DC characters. Like the cartoon characters weren't even allowed to be in the front portion of the thing. And it's a cartoon basketball game practically. But oh my gosh, that was just ranting fun. But let's get into the down and dirty. This is Hook.
When I was watching it and they're looking back and forth and the only thing they didn't do is like, oh, that's my boy or something. And, you know, like that's all they needed to do from Hook to make this a total Hook story, which is not a bad idea. Hook was a very successful kids movie and it's just it holds up very well. But John Williams and Dustin Hoffman, that's a far cry from what we're getting here.
Yeah, and it was a little bit more stakes, I guess you can say. I don't know. I mean, it's just so weird. Like, it was supposed to revolve around a basketball game, but it's not a basketball game. So, I don't know if the crowds kept me more. I don't even know what happened in the game because I was trying to look at everyone in the crowds the whole time. I was trying to find characters in the crowd. Like, I really didn't even care about what was happening in the game at first. Like, and then I kind of like, oh, what's going on here? Like, I would kind of get tuned back into the story, but I was lost. Like crazy in this movie. And
well, it was hard for me because it was you couldn't get more stereotypical story than this as far as having to rescue your son or something. I mean, that's the most stereotypical thing you can have. And then, the kid wants to make a video game. Like that's, it's like we're trying to be, it was so hard. And then I kind of had a little bit of fun thinking about what type of video game it was. I'm like, this is like NBA Jam. There's an old game called Arch Rivals.
NBA where instead Street Ballers.
So NBA Jam. So it made me, I had a little bit of fun with that, but it didn't lean hard enough. And I don't know. It was really, I can't really say too much. We try to stay pretty positive on this channel, but I can't think of too many positive things to say about this.
It was tough. I mean, there was like a couple funny laughs. And they were all based around the Looney Tunes.
Yes. And I will say, I really liked the Looney Tunes. Like the 2D animation, I thought looked great.
It's always fun to see.
Yeah. So we're going to get in, Nick and I kind of conflicting here a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought the 3D for the Looney Tunes looked just fine. I thought they were faithful recreations. So I thought they animated fine, whereas Nick did not like them at all. So.
And they didn't even have 2D fills. Like they didn't feel like 2D characters like that were with realistic fur and stuff like that. They just felt so stiff and slow and I mean they had to get away with like camera movements to make them look like they were moving like cartoon characters, and it was just like really weird. Like, and then Lola Bunny looked weird in her 3D shaped form. I don't know what it was with like the cheeks. Bugs Bunny looked weird from the side profiles. Like it was just weird, like how flat his face was. And there was just a lot of things where I was just like, like
it is very hard to make 2D animated characters look good in 3D, especially when you're so used to seeing them for how many decades have we had Looney Tunes now? That's really hard.
You know, you have to
I didn't
do it
watch
right. Like even with Mickey's ears. So there's kids shows where Mickey's in 3D, but when the rig had turned sideways, the ears move to the place it would be drawn in 2D. Even though it's not realistic, but it matches the poses of like the way it would be drawn, like as a 2D character.
I didn't know that. So that's an interesting little bit of trivia.
I think that's what messes it up is like the way the ears would sit and stuff. Like, you know, obviously you would draw a certain way, and because it was a 3D, they just left it as a 3D model and just hope for the best.
And you know what? Maybe the 3D models didn't bother me as much because I didn't watch as much Looney Tunes growing up, and also I wasn't going into this movie. I tend to be disappointed when I go into a movie expecting a lot. Like I hear a lot of hype about it. It's supposed to be really good. I was not expecting anything.
So you went in with low
this.
Expectations and you came out with even worse expectations.
I didn't come in with low expectations. I came in with no expectations or negative expectations.
Oh my gosh.
I had nothing planned on this. But that being said, we're clearly they did put in a lot of nostalgia type stuff.
Oh my gosh,
it was an ad. The target audience.
It was an ad for HBO Max. Wasn't it
HBO
Max?
Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers.
But all their movies are on HBO Max right now.
Yeah.
And there was Game of Thrones, which has to be HBO Max.
Yeah.
How did Rick and Morty get in there? I didn't know Warner Brothers owned Rick and Morty. Isn't that Cartoon Network?
I mean, they are on HBO Max. I don't know if Warner Brothers owns them or not. That's a good question.
So it is like an HBO Max.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they are Warner Brothers. I mean, you know, typically when you make a deal with the streaming company, it's for your whole catalog. So I'm assuming maybe they do have the whole Warner Brothers catalog. But do you think young kids that are huge LeBron James fans are going to like this?
Probably.
That's the main thing.
I mean, just from we can see from our TikTok comments.
So then
already.
It's successful in that regard. It's successful. Is it good entertainment? I don't think so, but probably the first Space Jam.
This would have been a fun skit on SNL. This would have been a fun upload to their Warner Brothers YouTube channel. Like, you know, every little moment with the gag of, you know, Game of Thrones, Batman, and all the little, like, when they travel to different places would have been fantastic as little shorts. And I would have probably enjoyed
like Robot Chicken type stuff, right?
Yeah, just kind of you get it. They get in the world, they do this, it's funny, haha. Like those would work as little individual shorts. I think they were just trying so hard to make this a funny movie.
Well, which happens a lot when you try and extrapolate out to a full feature film. Like there was a lot of great In Living Color, Saturday Night Live type stuff that were made into movies, and they're great for about a half an hour, and then they start to fall off after that. The hard thing is you know what? The first movie was just kind of, with Michael Jordan, was kind of just a goofy movie. This one they tried to make a lot more serious. They tried to add a lot more story elements, which is typically what you want. But in this case, it kind of bogged it down a little bit too much too. But then again, they did the right choices as far as like, all right, what's a good kids movie that has this kind of like hook? All right, well, let's bring in a little bit of hook. Like it wasn't not thought out. And what's a big thing right now? AI. All right, we're going to make an AI algorithm.
6 writers on this movie.
Which is sometimes the worst thing when you have too many people working on something. Sometimes you just need to, all right, we're going to have faith that you're the writer, you're going to make it happen. And who knows how many script rewrites this went through before they actually got made too.
Or if it went through any rewrites.
Well, when you usually have a bunch of writers, that means it was handed off from one to the next to the next, and all of them get credit for it. So that's or screenplays, at least that happens a lot. It got rough. It got rough.
And so is cheating encouraged in this movie? Because I felt
very much so.
The whole game was everyone cheating. And I was just like, wait a minute, this game's won by cheating? This does not seem like great stuff to teach kids nowadays. You have to cheat to win. Like everyone was literally cheating. Like the Looney Tunes were cheating in their Looney Tunes way. The bad guys or the Goon Toon Squad or Goon Squad or whatever was cheating in their Goonie way. Like it was just everyone was cheating left and right, and he had control of the game, and he couldn't even like rig the game to win. Like he could have easily gave himself like 1,000,000 points on that dunk. I mean, anyways, it's just like I'm saying, when I think too much into this, it makes even no sense. It just gets me angry.
This is not about performance enhancing drugs, it's about performance enhancing AI, as you know, like programming or whatever. Yeah, it's just
yeah. What else? There were some funny things. I loved how people are cheering in the crowd, even though it was just announced that like if they lose, they would be trapped in, and they're like, "Woo!" these like little loop cheering things. I think I watched like Robin because he had like his bright yellow cape, so I would see him a lot like with his little cape, and he did like the same thing twice. Like it was like a loop. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. And then the Witch King,
fine.
No, yeah, it's fine. I know, I'm just nitpicking. But so the Witch King was behind the goons bench. Like it's so obvious, like he was there, he's there.
Yeah.
And then there's one shot where he's on the other side of the audience. So I was like, dude, you can't replicate someone like the Night King and like, come on, dude, that's such an iconic like white head with the thorns. Like, come on, dude, you can't. And then was that Mr. Freeze on the sidelines? I think I saw Mr. Freeze.
Some of them were so kind of made to look not like the character that I'm like, I think that's maybe that person, but I'm not sure.
Oh, like
is this
like
too
White
far in the
Walkers.
Warner Brothers archives to get out the real things?
Like the White Walkers just had like fur jackets.
Yeah, it was.
They had the monkeys from Wizard of Oz. Just like he had like sweats on the bottom, and then he had like a mask on his head. I was just like, dude, this is. Oh, so you think they had them there on set? So it was
I think they filmed them somewhere, whether it was a green screen or something, and just comped them in. But I think they probably did actually bring them in. I mean, some things you could tell were 3D models of certain things,
and those were farther off in the distance.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that was fine. Nick was for this show was looking much more closely at the crowd. I think so we had like fun talking points and things like that. Whereas I was just watching it, and when I look back and I saw it and the walkers, and they look like Halloween costumes, I was like, all right. But then again, those are scary things where I can understand why they wouldn't want them to look exactly 100%. The same way. So Nick and I both, and again, we didn't talk about this a lot before we got on here, but Nick and I both agreed our favorite joke of the film. And I was like,
was it a joke or was it just like they totally got us? Like I got excited. I got so excited. I'm like, how do they keep this under wraps? Like,
yeah, exactly. I was like, wow, they kept this as such a good,
I'm like, this is
good
amazing.
Secret.
I'm like, this movie has a chance.
Yeah. And they're like Michael Jordan, and it's like Michael B. Jordan. They're like, we didn't even get the A Jordan. We got the B Jordan. I'm like, I thought that was kind of funny.
But it was like, come on. If they brought Michael back, we would have because remember how Bill Murray kind of comes in at at the end of the game.
Bill Murray was really good in the first one.
But it would have been fun to have Michael Jordan come in and team up. But
yeah,
because that's all we want. We want Michael Jordan in the movie.
that's really what made me the surprise to me about that is like, wow, LeBron James doesn't have as big of an ego after all. He's conceding that they need Michael Jordan. Like, nope, it was just a quick gag. Like, no, that would have been cool. He calls
himself the king the whole movie. It's just so crazy.
It hurt.
And I thought it was hilarious how they rubbed in how bad of a dad he was. Like they really rubbed it in to the point. I'm like, was he okay with this with the marketing? Because he comes across as he's a bad dad in real life. Like even though he may be the best dad ever, we wouldn't know. But this movie, his legacy, Space Jam legacy, is going to be remembered that he was a bad dad.
which is funny because they went a long way in the end to make him look like a wholesome dad. And I feel like that was something that happened in the first Space Jam as well. Like they focused on his family life and things like that. Not as to the same extent as this, but it's like, okay, you're putting the person in a great possible light. But in this one, they kind of started up with that and they shifted pretty quickly to, but you know what? You don't make a movie like this if you're worried about your family life. You make a movie like this if you want an ego boost to say, I'm as good as Michael Jordan. I don't know.
Okay, can we talk about when he's a kid at the beginning really quickly?
Sure.
So he's handed a Game Boy because his friend got a Game Boy Color. So
I love how it's color, even though when they're showing him playing the game, by the way, I'm like, no, you need to show spinach colors when you're doing that overlay, guys. But anyway, sorry. I don't think that's what you're going to talk about.
No, but I was going to talk about, so he plays a video game for 30 seconds before he plays the game, and then he trashes it, right? Because he's going to focus on basketball. And that was his connection to Bugs Bunny. How did that stand? How did that even could make a connection that he would have to be friends and he knows everything about Bugs Bunny and all the characters. I don't know. It was tough. He's not an actor and we can't expect him to act, just like we couldn't expect Michael Jordan to act when he did it, kind of thing. But it's
of course. Again, especially on a green screen and playing basketball. I don't know how they did the court this time around.
I think it was a green screen court.
Last time they were talking about how they had a full green screen court and it was almost impossible to move the same way because the texture and you didn't have all your markers and stuff. So I mean that is hard. It's a big task for even a good actor. And I mean, thankfully, our basketball players aren't actors; they're basketball players, which is great. But for a movie, it's a little bit rough. I think this movie would have benefited a lot from having a Newman or a Bill Murray and things like that. You
But
know,
like,
someone
what
to help
comedian
carry
would
it.
have been good? Like Will Ferrell? Nah, that could have worked.
Will Ferrell would have been fun.
that
That's
would've
actually good. That's actually a good idea. I wouldn't have.
Because he
I
could
had
have
a
been
hard
like
time
his childish kind of thing, like freaking
Yeah,
out, like
yeah,
getting in
yeah.
a fight with like Daffy Duck or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, who's the coach? Like, put me in, coach. And he's like, sit down or whatever, you know, get the voice and stuff like that.
That would have been a good idea. That's because they put in some people
They had,
that you recognize, like
Silverman.
the announcers and stuff.
Sarah Silverman, who
Sarah
played like
Silverman
the
was in there
lame,
for
like,
like
it could have been
30
any
seconds.
Like, why even have her for that character? She's like, I was
Yeah.
just like, this is
It wasn't a
crazy.
comedy role or anything. Yeah, I mean,
No.
now granted, they may have shot more with her, and we did. That's just what we saw. Like, you never know.
Yeah.
A lot of parts of movies get completely cut. Do we want to talk about like effects in this, or do you want to do a separate video for that later on down the road?
We're probably going to do a separate VFX breakdown. We like to do
All right, cool.
VFX breakdowns, and we'll probably really dig into maybe why the 3D stuff didn't work. We could talk about how,
or the
I
things
bet
we
you-
liked, because
yeah,
there's a few things
there's
that I
a-
really liked
yeah,
as far as they did. I
visually-
mean, the effects work was very good. Like, there was
very good.
a lot going on everywhere, and a lot of times there was hybrid stuff. So the
Yeah.
effects work, like, I definitely
Very
praise a lot, and that's why we'll do a separate thing.
I
on
just
that,
want to say though, they must have been inspired. They must have saw the Game of Thrones world with the thing around it. They're like, we're gonna make worlds of everything, so we can have the Game of Thrones world. And like, because you could tell, like, the Game of Thrones world was like the first one and like the strongest one, and
Yeah,
after that,
yeah.
they're just like, it kind of gets worse and harder to
Yeah,
like depict,
yeah.
and it's like, it's like the Matrix one. You have the Matrix logo. And you have giant blue and red pills in the center of the earth, and then you go through, like it made no sense for like the Matrix, because it would have just been New York City.
I didn't think about that. It's funny.
You know what I mean, or whatever,
green-tinted New
or
York
it would have
City,
been a
yeah.
computer, like it would have been like a
Yeah.
1980s window computer. It's like, you know, like or no, 1998 Windows computer. You know what I mean? Like it would have been something like that. You would have flew through like as the world.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like
How funny.
it was fun.
Well, you know
though.
what?
It was
so
fun.
I have to say, and they showed it even in a section of the movie. They show in the Warner Brothers lots. They have a corner of the Scoob
yeah.
movie poster up, and if you guys haven't seen that review, Nick and I hated that. Now
Yeah,
that's
that
definitely like Scooby Doo is definitely a nostalgia thing for me. I don't know if it's as much for Nick. So definitely I was hard on that, but it had that same idea of trying to cram in every current present day reference you can, and it hurt it so bad. And they didn't keep to the same formula.
Yeah.
The same thing kind of here. They tried to make it more modern day, but maybe present day kids will like that. But to me, that was the biggest mistake they made on that Scoob movie. And this is the same studio. It was the biggest mistake to me here as well.
Warner Brothers needs to step it up. It's
and
so
it was
funny
funny,
because I
and
love their Batman animated not shorts, but movies and stuff like that of the Justice League. I think they do such a good job with the DC stuff. But lately, man, their cartoon stuff has just been. Is it because they're trying to make old stuff relevant?
Maybe. I mean, because when you had Nick and I always praised the Snoopy movie, the Peanuts movie, and that was done by a studio that was really known for hitting styles and things like that. And Blue Sky definitely hit that a lot, but they didn't try and they put a modern twist on it, and that it was 3D rendered, but they made it look the same. And I don't know, this is not fair to compare to that, but they approached it from a more traditional standpoint where the story still felt like a Peanuts movie. Whereas this, I mean, I guess we have one other Space Jam movie, so we don't have that much to compare it to, but
Well, they were thinking about
know.
doing a Tony Hawk Space Jam. It would have been like Skate Jam or something like that. And I think they like called Tony Hawk, and he was like, yeah, I'm totally down. I love Looney Tunes and all this stuff. But then Looney Tunes Back in Action came out, and it totally flopped. And then they just never called Tony Hawk back.
oh, is this like way back when that was, oh wow,
yeah.
that's interesting.
They tried doing other ones too, but just nothing ever like caught kind of thing.
Well, like you were saying, this is probably better suited to a small episodic skit type thing, and that works fine. But it's really hard to make a full length animated film and keep it fresh all the way through, especially when something as weird as a basketball player getting sucked into a animated world. I don't know how else to, it's a big task. So let me ask you this thing. Do you think this should have even been made? Do you think this should have been scrapped in the concept phase, or do you think it's going to work fine for down the road? Kids are going to remember this as fondly as a lot of kids do, or I guess adults now do the original Space Jam, or I mean,
I don't know, because I think my favorite thing about the original Space Jam was the soundtrack. Like I really enjoyed the soundtrack. Like, you wanna jam? Like, there's some good like sports jams in it. Bill Murray was one of my favorites. I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna last for me, because maybe it will. Maybe it will, but I don't know. I honestly, that's tough.
For me, the biggest thing is, and we had some kind of discussions on this in other episodes as well, is that Michael Jordan, for the time period that he existed, was a marketing phenomena that we've never really seen, because you think about how many decades later Air Jordan brand and everything like that is still such an iconic, popular, relevant thing. Whereas I'm not sure if we fast forward that many years, people are going to talk about LeBron James the same. Maybe in the context of basketball, he will be, but in the context of popular culture, Michael Jordan, I can't think of another, probably maybe Muhammad Ali, or maybe
Beatles.
Babe Ruth way back then.
Are you thinking of sports?
I'm talking about athletes. Yeah, athletes. I don't think
Wayne
there's
Gretzky,
really...
Gretzky.
Yeah, but we don't talk about Wayne Gretzky that much these days, whereas we still talk about and think about Michael Jordan a lot, at least in the way that I think about
and you
it.
always, is it Tiger Woods would be like a big golfer?
Yeah, that's a valid one. Tiger Woods. Yeah, because he was marketed. They should have had that same.
They should have did a Tiger Woods Space Jam.
If they had done it before he got in all kinds of trouble, that would have been a perfect thing.
But they already had
can
the
you
connection.
Imagine
Remember?
the Looney Tunes trying to golf? That'd have been funny.
It makes sense, because that's where they got Michael Jordan through the golf course hole.
Yeah,
he's like sucked him in. So I mean, it could have made sense.
I think this would have been helped a lot if they had a couple supporting big supporting actors, like the people that they had.
The budget went to the
Bill
visual
Murray,
effects,
which it was money well spent, because there was a lot of stuff.
I think it was 160 million for this movie.
Which, I mean, you got to figure
that was more than Mortal Kombat.
Oh, that's interesting. But
Mortal Kombat was 70 million.
Many effects in this, and that's interesting. I would say that's as far as movies go, that's not outrageous for the amount of visual effects and animation.
Well, you weren't paying for actors.
Yeah. I'm sure LeBron James still wanted plenty of money for it.
Yeah, but nothing like crazy actor money. He probably has probably has more of a percentage in it, because they had the basketballs they were holding at the end and stuff was the LeBron James basketballs. Oh,
how funny.
With his logo. So, I mean, it was his product placement all over there, like his shoes probably. The Nike logo when he crashed into the ground. It was just crazy how sponsor heavy this was.
Basically,
it was like Wayne's World
placement.
We don't bow to sponsors, and it's they have
It was a product placement movie for sure, and I'm sure that's one of the draws of everybody involved. It's a boost for Looney Tunes, which you don't think about as much these days. It's a boost for all of LeBron James's kind of.
Do you want to rate this,
marketing
John?
Connections?
Do you want to rate this movie?
No.
So you're saying 0 out of 10?
You know what?
No redeemable factors out of it. I will say 3 out of 10 for all the visual effects work that went into it.
I was going to say the effects work was good, and that's the best
part of it, the VFX.
But does that make a movie?
No, but I'm just saying that gives it the 3, because everything else would give it a 0. It was bad.
Then again, did kids enjoy it? That's
will
the most
you watch
important
this
thing.
again?
Oh gosh, no,
Tomorrow.
never. I wish I could take it away. I wish I could wipe it from my memory.
Let's do a live reaction. Comment down below if you want to film John doing a live reaction watching this.
If some people vote on that, I'm going to start a Save John campaign so I don't have to do it.
That's awesome. Close this out,
you know
Johnny.
what?
Oh, so go ahead.
It'll probably work out well for kids that are big LeBron James fans. It'll work fine. So in that regard, it was a success, I guess, in that regard. So yeah, it is what it is.
They're probably just hoping they make their money back.
Yeah. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that. A movie exists to make money, and I'm sure it'll make money. Probably the likelihood is. All right, guys, so let us know down below what you thought about it. Should this have ever even been made, or do you think it was a good idea? Do you think it's more of an ego thing, or do you think that people are just thinking, no, another Space Jam with a high sports basketball figure makes sense. Let us know down below. Check out AsArt. The audio and video links. We have quite a plethora of content we put out on this channel. So check out all the different things we do, from deepfakes to visual effects reviews to show reviews to everything else. So check that out, and we'll see you on the next AsArt.